right, so is yoga good or bad for you? Well, first you probably clarify what I mean by yoga, because yoga is a big tree with lots of branches on it. And while meditation, pranayama, and how we play in our creation matter, I kind of like to focus directly on the hatha part. My name is Zander. I'm the ambassador of play on a mission to remind us that this is our playground. And I was introduced to yoga formally back in my mid-20s. I dove heavily into it, focusing on the stretching part on the hopes of getting on the cover of some yoga magazine. That didn't happen. Instead, after a little bit of time, my body shut down. Basically said, stop doing this. Until I met up with Michelle Edwards while living on Kauai. One of my friends and I were doing what we call a primal walk, walking through Honolulu Bay, just jumping around, goofing around, throwing coconuts. And Michelle saw us playing and she's like, hey boys, come over here. And then she shared with us a little about her journey through yoga. She also had a background in massage therapy. So over a course of time, Michelle developed her own flow, which she calls Yoga Align. I'll dive more into Yoga Align in another video, but right now I want to focus on the hatha, or the stretching part in particular. What's up with the Western style? First thing we should do is remember to listen to our bodies. Pain is one of the indicators that we need to make some adjustments. So while there are times when you can breathe into it, relax into it, you can even change up that signal, it's also a primal signal that something is wrong. If we choose to ignore this, it kind of leads to bad communication for the body. The body wants our brain to act responsibly. So I would encourage us to just basically follow that more and really get that trust going. Kind of makes sense. Along those lines, connective tissue does not have this capability to communicate pain. Our ligaments and our tendons, they want to be tight, right? A great example is this. Michelle had a wooden giraffe that she would show that was all strung up, and if you pressed on the bottom and loosened the thing would collapse. We're built similarly. All of our pulley systems are meant to keep us nice and erect. If we loosen an end of it, it collapses the whole structure. So is stretching good for us? Well, something else to consider. How we're built. Humans are primarily standing upright. So if we invert that and go into asanas that are inverted, is that good for us? Does that relax our blood flow, or does it stress out the capillaries and veins and arteries? Does our brain like to be this way, or does it like to swell with blood? How about our internal organs? Do they like to be this way, supported this way, or do they like to be crushed up against the chest here? I don't know. All I'm saying is that when I'm in inverted poses, there's no part of my body that's saying yay. It's basically saying stop it. Shh, shh, shh. Right? So I listen to that. Why not? Let's go further with that. How do we learn to get into inverted poses? One of the ways is through a headstand. All right, so we get on our head. Our body is structured so that our neck supports the weight of our head, a couple of kilos, right? Not too much. If we invert that and we put the weight of our body on there, eeks. And then we're trying to balance out our feet as they're swaying a little bit, so we're doing micro movements to support that weight. Okay, right in the back of our neck here, the suboccipitals, there's a lot of key information that goes through there. So if it gets agitated, it naturally inflames to try and protect. It's just not good for the neck. It's a very sensitive area. So headstands, no. My body just says no. Let's take that next step. How about shoulder stands? Are they better? Okay, put your head down like this. Does that feel comfortable? Now try and push it even more. Does that start feeling comfortable? No. Put the weight of the body on that point right here at the base of the neck. That's a very weak point to put things. Plus, you're stretching your head forward, training your body to lengthen this part, which brings your head more and more forward, so that now that few kilos is not upright like this, it's hanging more and more forward, so you start collapsing your whole core right here. That's not what we want. We want this to grow up and out, so we want to keep our head up and back. So shoulder stands, no. I don't recommend them. Okay, how about handstands? Put your hands up like that. Does that feel good? Okay. Now, if you push it a little bit further, how does that feel? Doesn't feel as good. Now put the weight of your body right here. I wouldn't do that for long either. How about fists? Maybe fists, but then I go back to square one. Inverted poses, not so much. How about one more thing to shed light on? The spine. The spine is an S curve, basically, right? So you have the skull right here, and then you have your neck going like this, and a shoulder going like that, and then your lumbar curve down here, right? So These are like our shock absorbers, so if we try and straighten that out with any poses, I mean, is that a good thing? I wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend trying to keep those curves as much as possible. Support that structure. It's important. So there are many yoga poses that try to reverse that curve or even exaggerate to an extreme. I wouldn't do even the exaggeration poses. I'd keep those curves going and strengthen it in that alignment position. All right, that just makes sense to me. All right, one more little spice thing to add to the mix. Where yoga comes from. It was introduced to the United States in the late 19th century, but it didn't gain popularity until about the 1940s when Hollywood got wind of it. Well, they took this original yoga practices that the gurus had introduced, chose the stretching part, and mixed it in with Swedish gymnastics routines, which aren't really good for humans in general. It's too extreme. But once they packaged it up, they launched it out as the Hollywood way to be. All right, you want to look this way, act this way, this is the cool way to be, and it spread like wildfire throughout the United States. We ate it up and started practicing it without recognizing where it came from. It's now a multi-billion-dollar industry. I'm hoping to bring some enlightenment to it, really question it. So all of that being said, there are amazing yoga instructors out there who are aware of alignment, aware of structure, and are doing their practices and their flow to help honor that. Michelle is one of those people, and I was fortunate enough to work with her for a number of years. So in my next video, I'm going to be doing what I call Yoga Align Plus. It's Michelle's work plus some other cool things I've learned from some other teachers combined into one beautiful flow. And if you're a yoga practitioner, check it out. Maybe there's some things you could adjust in your own flow. And if you're a yoga instructor, pretty please check it out. I've been guilty of teaching people. Before I learned Yoga Line, I taught a lot of people regular yoga, and I regret that now. Knowing what I know now, I'm like, oh shoot, I did steer people the wrong way, and it's my responsibility to try to correct that in the best way possible. So, hope you guys liked the video. Again, this is all in my opinion stuff, but I'm hoping that it will shed some light on the whole topic of yoga. Now, if you want to check out more stuff, please go check out Hacky Do. It's my way of kind of like giving our playground a little bit of pump. I just have all my fun things there of how we can do better in our world. So thank you so much for your time. Have a great one, y'all. Aloha.